up YouTube? It's your boy ChasmRift here, and today we got ourselves another tier list. Now, context for this one, the Crown Tundra's Pokemon, listing got leaked, and I saw it. I personally had like my own opinions on it, but I shared it with the Twitch chat of the stream I was watching because they're interested to look at it. And people who saw this, so personally I felt that it was probably fake, but that was for different reasons. The people who I showed this list to said that they thought it was fake because there wasn't quote unquote any fodder Pokemon. And I thought that was weird because it's like, ever since E3 2019, Game Freak has said that they've been doing everything they can to balance the game, or the Pokemon company, whoever you want to call. And ever since then, they have been consistent with that, the quality of life changes and a lot of the decisions they made. And I kind of want to double down on that by actually doing a tier list based on the Pokemon that they've selected and why they put priority over these Pokemon over others. Now, I don't know if I can make this video under 15 minutes, but I think I can make another 20. This is going to be the third shoot I do for it. So yeah, let's get into it. So going over this list, I put this based Pokemon in different categories. We have historical data, meaning that these Pokemon have had success in the past in VGC, and their success alone in their resume will say like, yeah, they're a solid pick to have for future metas. Multiple evolutions, these are Pokemon who have different evolutionary lines. We'll get more into this one as we explain. Abilities, Pokemon that have good abilities that actually justify them being relevant in VGC. There are a bunch of Pokemon that you could think of right there. Base stats, Pokemon who may not have the best abilities or may not have the best move pool diversity, but have really good solid base stats, which makes them a real threat. And then there's move pool diversity, Pokemon who can do a little bit of everything, and this is very strong, especially when we're dealing with Dynamax being the land of opportunity for Pokemon. So yeah, let's get into this. First things first, we have Sandslash. Put these in multiple evolutions because to prepare for a regular Sandslash versus a Galarian or a Alolan Sandslash, I'm gonna say Galarian. There are two different ways they play. Obviously, you're probably not gonna see these two, but Alolan Sandslash can be used on Hail teams, and while Hail teams aren't that strong right now, they're using all the buffs they could get. Also, before we go any further, quick disclaimer: I don't work for any of these companies, so whatever I say could be wrong. Don't take everything I say as law. This is just me going over everything. Alright, Wigglytuff, we're putting it actually in the abilities column. It has really good base stats and it has a nice move pool diversity, but the reason I'm putting it in abilities is because it has two good ones. It has competitive, which means in the meta where Incineroar is either number 1 or number 3 in terms of usage depending on which metric you're looking at, Wigglytuff is a really good way to shut down people and decentivize them from bringing in Intimidators. We're in a meta where people are starting to use Max Strike as a tool to just cripple the opposing team. Having Wigglytuff on the team to benefit from that is actually pretty good. It also has Frisk, meaning if you don't want to use like a Dusclops or any ghost types to use Frisk to check out and scope the opponent's items out, you can use Wigglytuff instead, which I think is actually pretty good to try out. Golduck has Swift Swim, so yeah, Rain is buffed, we'll get more into that, but yeah, Swift Swim Golduck makes a lot of sense. I don't know why I keep doing it, that's the second time I did that. Belongs in the abilities column. Now here goes another multiple evolution. Poliwrath and Politoed. Poliwrath benefits from Rain with its Swift Swim ability. Politoed sets up Rain, and Politoed buffed Rain. So yeah, there you go, Golduck. Alakazam is a Pokemon I'm going to put in the base stat column because it's a glass cannon. When you battle him with with Alakazam, you know what you're getting yourself into, and it's either you're going to hit hard or you're going to fall, or you're going to be doing something that's going to throw the opponent off a bit. But with its high base speed being faster than Cinderace, I think its base stats is the most important aspect of it. Tentacruel, another one. I was going to put it in the abilities column because of its Rain Dish, but after considering, like looking at its stats, it has base 120 Spadef, has base 80 HP, 65 defense, which is the lacking part, and it has a respectable base 100 speed. Having Rain Dish as its hidden ability, it means that it's actually a slightly bulkier version of Blastoise. And not only that, we have a especially bulky water type, which is actually kind of rare in the meta right now. We have one that's also a poison type, meaning that with the plethora of fairies that we've seen since Gen 8 meta, this Pokemon can actually provide a lot of coverage. It can set up its own Rain, and it can also set up its own Max Oozes to get boosting going. So yeah, Tentacruel actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it in that context. Alright, the Slowbros and Slowking. Regenerator, I think this one also has Regenerator. This one can't be confused with Own Tempo. You could also use Belly Drum, and you can also use Trick Room. These two, they play slightly differently. This one, you want to be slow, and you probably would consistently try to set up Trick Room or have it on a Trick Room team. This one right here, you could either battle against Regenerator or you're going to see Quick Draw. Personally, I prefer Regenerator over Quick Draw, but hey, people like using the new ability, so yeah, just have to list that out. Executor, first historical data one. Wolf-Glick proved that this Pokemon could be very strong when he took this bad boy all the way to Worlds, and we've seen a decent amount of play out of Executor over time. I forgot to put a Lonely Executor on the list, but we're just gonna pretend that thing doesn't exist. Another pair right here, we're gonna put Marowak in the multiple evolutions column. Like I said, they both play very differently. This Marowak right here is really strong with the Ghost Fire type it has going on. And I would put in historical data because it had a lot of decent play back in Gen 7, but it's fallen off pretty hard. And now it's getting a resurgence, but it's kind of sliding back down. So we'll see. Kangaskhan, historical data. Now hear me out. Kangaskhan, yeah, it was strong in Gen 6 and Gen 7. And you're probably saying like, wait, that was back when we had Megas. Yes, I acknowledge that. Kangaskhan was strong back when there was Megas. But hear me out. There were a bunch of teams that ran Megas that had multiple partners that could potentially Mega Evolve. You seen like Kangaskhan and Solomons, you know, Kangaskhan Rayquaza, Kangaskhan Sceptile, like basically people who couldn't decide if they want to use Mega Kangaskhan would sometimes bring them out into battle, meaning that if those situations where they decided to Mega Evolve the other Pokemon, they're still relying on Kangaskhan's Fake Out, the fact that it has Scrappy, meaning that it can attack Ghost types, it has Sucker Punch, things like that. I feel like it deserves to be in the historical data column because, well, it has a resume that's pretty impressive. Alright, Starmie, putting in the base stats, very similar to Alakazam. I just feel like since it's a little bit bulkier and it's water psychic, I feel like it has a lot more to offer than just a regular Alakazam, but yeah, still base stats. It doesn't have as much diversity as I would expect. Alright, so Pinsir. It's going to be an interesting one. During the first reshoot I actually didn't know much about Pinsir to describe it, but now I'm glad I'm doing the redos, because Pinsir has Hyper Cutter. You cannot lower his attack. It has Mold Breaker. It means it nullifies abilities of other Pokemon. So, you know, like Magic Bounce, it nullifies Levitate, things like that, if it ever has anything that's applicable to those Pokemon. And it has Moxie. Again, this thing can hit hard. It has Swords Dance right there. You get a Swords Dance off on a physical bug type, you got a lot going for it. And besides, since this bug type gives a decent buff to the bugs, as we're going to get more into that later on. Another one, Tauros. It has Anger Point. Tauros is paired with Frostlass or is paired with Urshifu because both those Pokemon have common strategies to just guarantee a crit onto a Tauros and then let it go off and be crazy. Azumarill we're going to put into the move pool diversity. I was going to put it into abilities, or you may even argue probably base stats, but move pool diversity. It's a water fairy type. It has access to Aqua Jet, Liquidation, Play Rough, Superpower, Belly Drum, like Steel Roller, or whatever the move is called, Misty Explosion. We're seeing a lot of things you could do with Azumarill. This ability, Sap Sipper, is actually something that I think people should explore, but of course that means it loses on its offensive pressure, and it doesn't really benefit from Thick Fast. So because it doesn't benefit from it only benefits like 1.5 abilities, I feel like, yeah, move pool diversity takes over. Dunsparce's another Pokemon, move pool diversity. He has decent stats, nothing to write home with, but the bulk is there to survive a decent amount of physical or special attack moves, and it has a lot of diversity. This thing can use Coil, it has Serene Grace, so that means it can use Rock Slide, it could, Rock Slide Flinch, it could use Blizzard, Fire Blast, Thunder. Do that with a Coil, you're pretty much good. Do a Coil into a Rock Slide, you increase your odds of hitting a Pokemon, hitting them harder, and with the Serene Grace, you have a chance to flinch at the same time. So yeah, Dunsparce is actually a Pokemon that it should probably be explored. I wouldn't put it on like a major team, but I'll probably take it to you should probably take it to like a local. You could probably do some cheese there. So yeah, something I should say you should consider. Scissor, historical data. This Pokemon is almost in every meta it's been legal in, and especially when Rain was really strong. So yeah, gotta put it up here. Heracross, Pokemon that has good abilities. It has Moxie. It has, I want to say basically it's Pinsir 2.0. They both got the same things. They got a lot going on with each other, and since they're counterparts, it makes a lot of sense. Skarmory, basically a poor man's Corviknight, or maybe even Corviknight 2.0, depending on how you look at it. Like I said, I'm speeding through these to try to cut for time. So, Kingbra, we're going to put in the abilities column, Swift Slim. Let's just be real. Porygon 2 and Porygon Z. Porygon 2 is the only one I put in this list that's different from the other ones because it's not a fully evolved Pokemon. But I feel like it plays so differently from Porygon Z, it has to be worth noting. So Porygon 2 is mostly going to try to be bulky, set up Trick Room, use Recover, use Tri Attack to try to get by. Porygon Z, on the other hand, is trying to be offensive. It's trying to Dynamax. It's trying to use Max Strike's Hyper Beam to cripple the opponents and just be fast, powerful with adaptability, and just keep it going. Right here, Miltank actually has a bunch of good abilities. It's actually pretty crazy. Miltank has Thick Fat, which personally I'm not a big fan of, but we're seeing people like Grandmamba D take Snorlax to #1 on Battle Stadium ladder with Thick Fat Snorlax. Personally, I think it's better to give it to a Pokemon that's actually weak to fire and ice. It has Scrappy, meaning it can hit Ghost types, which is actually pretty good. That means you can do a lot of things with Miltank that you probably couldn't with other Pokemon in terms of dealing with Ghost types. And it's also unevolved normal type, meaning that its stats are pretty good, and it also has Stat Sipper. So if you're worried about Venusaur or Rillaboom, this is a Pokemon put in the team to probably switch in and eat up their attacks. So a lot of people probably don't even know that it has Stat Sipper. Blissey, Pokemon that belongs in the base stat category, and also kind of chancy. Now the reason I'm putting them here is you're probably thinking, oh, these Pokemon ain't really that much of a threat, but these Pokemon will condition people to have more balance on their teams. If you have like 4 special attackers and 2 physical attackers, and you don't bring the physical attackers in, or they're not very competent in dealing with normal types, Blissey will just expose those players. With Conkeldonk actually losing a lot of usage, Terrakion isn't that strong without Whimsicott out here in these metas, and basically fighting type is kind of going to decline. You're not seeing as many like solid consistent options as you would back in Series 1 and 2 in terms of who's going to be on the team providing a lot of coverage. So if you got a team that's pretty weak on the physical side, Blissey's probably going to expose that, and you have to watch out for it if the opponent gets set up. Exploud, putting it in the abilities category. So Exploud has Soundproof and has Scrappy. Scrappy can hit Ghost types. Soundproof, it means that it ignores basically Hyper Voice from Sylveon, Hyper Voice from Primarina, and it also avoids Perish Song. So we're seeing a decent amount of play out of Politoed. G-Max Lapras is getting a lot of play, and you're seeing Pokemon like those carry Perish Song. Having Exploud and Soundproof means that it ignores Perish Song, and it can basically continue just doing its own thing. It has really good stats comparable to Wigglytuff. Sharpedo has Speed Boost. It also has Strong Jaw. So yeah, those are 2 abilities to think about, but I think Speed Boost is more the big one. Like you can Dynamax this thing, get some setup going with, you know, the fangs it can use and things like that. And with the Speed Boost thing, eventually it should be outspeeding everything on the field at some point. Luxray, Pokemon I want to put up here in the abilities category. It has Guts and it has Intimidate. Those are things that you can't sleep on when you're battling with a Luxray. It also has Rivalry, which could be interesting if you're battling against Pokemon with the similar gender. So basically, assuming the opponent didn't hack the Pokemon in, if you're battling against the starters, which are predominantly male, having a Luxray with Rivalry could probably do something against them. But mostly you want to focus on Intimidating Guts in my eyes. So it's actually a cheeky, these 4 right here, it's actually kind of cheeky how Game Freak / the Pokemon Company / whoever put them in, because they did a good job, you know, having foresight about them. Lopunny, so interesting one. I actually want to put it in the move pool diversity. I was going to put it in abilities because it has the ability Klutz, which could be interesting. But when we come over here to Lopunny, you know, let me just scroll up to prove to you. Lopunny, we scroll down here, it has a bunch of moves that it could do, and it has decent stats. Nothing to really write home with, but like it has base 105 speed, which is really good. And has access to, look at all these max moves it has access to, mostly physical attacks. And the lowest damage that it's going to be doing is base 110 with a max darkness. Like, these are really good. And when you pair it with like its base 76 attack, you know, maybe give it like a life orb. The base 105 speed means they're going to outspeed a decent amount. Maybe put like a tailwind support with Whimsicott. This thing can actually dish out some punishment, and it can actually do a lot of setup for your team. You know, set up Electric Terrain, set up Max Slayer for your squad, you know, use Max Hailstorm. It has access to Max Knuckle if you got a partner that doesn't need Dynamaxing but can benefit from the boost. It has potential. Magnezone, historical data. Now this Pokemon was really strong back in the day, dealing with Celesteela, and of course that would be based on its ability. But Magnezone has a solid typing, has decent moves, and I feel like it's being underutilized right now. Of course it gets deleted by max moves, but I think Magnezone does offer a lot. Being a steel type, it's immune to a bunch of things. Being an electric type, you can't put it, it can use electric terrain, it can self-proc that, it's immune to a bunch of different stuff. It could even give it an air balloon. There it goes. Its ground immunity is right there. That's pretty good for a Pokemon that's times 4 weak to ground. So yeah, I think we gotta put in the historical data. I think Gen 7 alone proves that it's a pretty good Pokemon. Licky, we're gonna put it in this category. So Licky, you look at it, has own tempo. You can't confuse it. It has belly drum. So yeah, you can't confuse it, and it blocks Intimidate. Oblivious. You can't hit it with Intimidate, and it also has Cloud 9. It can shut down weather for good. So if you have a team that's not based on weather, but you want to shut down weather, Licky, just like Grandpa, can be used as an option to just shut down weather effects, meaning that you essentially cripple a lot of teams, because some teams rely too much on weather support. Tangrowth, Pokemon that I think we could put in the base stat category. It's slow, it can hit hard, and it's a pure grass type. That's something that should not be undersold right now. Just give this thing a Cobra Berry, should be pretty good to go. Stoutland, we're going to put it in the abilities column, and you're probably wondering why. Stoutland, one of the few Pokemon that has 3 abilities that's actually really good. It has Intimidate. Enough said right there. Sand Rush, it could be used on a sand team. Think about that. This thing's speed is doubled in sand and has Scrappy, meaning that it could hit ghost types. So if Stoutland actually got a decent amount of play and you brought this on the team, you could really confuse an opponent if they do any type of research on Stoutland. Base 80 speed, if you double that, that's actually pretty scary. Base 110 attack. Base 85 HP and defense at 90. Same for the Spadef at 90. That's pretty good, along with the diversity he has with his move pool. Not as diverse as a Lopunny or some of the other Pokemon we listed, but Stoutland can actually be a good Pokemon to be used in the future. Scolipede, poison type, and it also has speed boost, physical attacker. Enough said. Lilligant, chlorophyll, and entrainment, meaning that can pass this ability on to other Pokemon in the field. Enough said. Crocodile, historical data, it's a world champion and it has 3 great abilities in Moxie, Intimidate, and Anger Point. So really solid Pokemon. It has its flaws, sure, but this Pokemon can be very diverse. You can Dynamax it and get some stuff going on, or you can just give it a Scarf set and let it do its own thing, or you can just provide good redirection support next to it. But yeah, the historical data is what's really driving this. I didn't even have to think about that. Zoroark abilities. This Pokemon is coming in at the right time. In a meta where there's so much redirection that is actually disgusting, having Zoroark could actually be really useful, because instead of using Follow Me or Ally Switch, imagine Zoroark was disguised into a quote-unquote threat that your opponent is worried about. They may actually target down Zoroark instead of the true threat, which is Zoroark's partner. So imagine if you brought Zoroark in and the opponent is using Side Spam, and it just so happened the opponent thinks like, oh, you have yourself Pokemon who's weak to Psychic type attacks. They may double down into Zoroark, and boom, Zoroark is immune because it's a Dark type. Those are things to think about. Emolga and Dedenne, we're going to package them together. These two right here, they're Pikachu clones. Why are Pikachu clones important? Pachirisu. Why is Pachirisu important? He won the 2014 World Championships with his Deceptible, is really good supportive moveset, and the fact that it's pretty fast. Emolga and Dedenne, they aren't exactly Pachirisu, but they have good typing. Emolga is electric flying, meaning it's not even weak to ground, and Dedenne is electric fairy, meaning it has access to fairy type moves. And I think there's some decent potential there if they were going off that same track of mind. Amoonguss, historical data. We all know about Amoonguss in Gen 5, and it had a decent amount of play in Gen 7. Mienshao, we're gonna put this in the base stat category. It's basically like a physical Alakazam. It's fast, it can hit hard, has decent move pool diversity with U-turn, acrobatics, and being a fighting type. So yeah, we're gonna put that there. Dredigan, when I met Wolfglick at Worlds, well, no, I don't know when I said Worlds, I met Wolfglick at Collinsville Regionals. I told him to his face that Dredigan, well, Duraludon is Dredigan without Stalwart, and he agreed. So if we're using Duraludon as a measuring stick, I think Dredigan would be fine. Let's give it a chance. Bouffalant, Sap Sipper. Enough said. Volcarona, we'll put it into the historical data column. It's done a lot from Gen 5 all the way up to now. I think we gotta put some respect on it. Talonflame, abilities, Gale Wings. Dragalge, poison type. They're doing a lot to support poison types, it seems, this generation. And it also has adaptability. So yeah, I put that there. Clawlauncher, Clawitzer, whatever. Mega Launcher. But because it has access to Dark Pulse, Aura Spear, and Water Pulse, I think being able to max with those moves is a little bit more important than just the Mega Launcher ability. So that's why I'm putting in the move pool diversity. Klefki, Prankster. Easily. So these are the trio I was thinking about right here. Lycanrocs, they all play differently. If you were to battle against somebody, I think the concept they're going with this is every Lycanroc is different, you have to approach them differently. This one right here is a Glass Cannon, the midday form. Midnight is a little bit bulkier, has no guard, has Stone Edge, things like that. Gotta be a little bit more respective on it from a strategic perspective in my eyes. And this one right here is a little bit of both. So yeah, all of them are different, all of them have different abilities. Yeah, in the perfect world, these guys will actually be competitively viable, and you have to respect each and every one of them if you saw them. Lurantis, base stats, really strong grass type. Of course, it's overshadowed by Rillaboom, but we can't help that. Comfey, ability, Tri-Age, seeing a lot of stuff happening with that. And then base stats, we're gonna put, actually just gonna put Palisand, yeah, base stats. With Water Compaction, it gets up to +6 with its ability. We're seeing people use Shore Up with to regain its health. It has Max Quake, Max Phantasm, things like that. And the stats are there to show that it's pretty bulky. I'm gonna put it there in that category. And this is the list. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I want to know down below how you guys feel about this. I know that just went over 20 minutes, but bear with me. Let me know if I got anything wrong, or I'll even leave a link on this tier list if you want to do it yourself. Anyway, guys, I'm about to get out of here. Case fellow open, gotta close them. Bye.